If you think Sandokan's January success in America is just a headline, here's the plot twist. The real signal wasn't day one. It was what happened after the algorithm tested it. In the next few minutes, I'll break down Sandokan's January Netflix report card, using the official global top 10 numbers plus the US day-by-day chart movement, and what that pattern actually suggests for February. And if you want clean updates on John Yaman and Sandokan without gossip, hit subscribe right now. Alright, let's do this the smart way, like a real report card, not a fan war. Because when people say Sandokan is a hit in the US, that can mean three completely different things. 1. It got press headlines. 2. It trended on social media for a day. 3. The only one that matters for platform momentum. It entered the US top 10, climbed, held, and didn't instantly disappear. January gave us enough evidence to judge which one we're dealing with. But first, quick rule. We're going to look at two different systems that measure two different things. System A is Netflix's official weekly top 10 data. That's where we get things like global rank, views, runtime, and hours watched for a specific week. System B is the daily country top 10 charts, the ones you see inside the Netflix app, and the ones tracking sites record day by day. Those daily charts don't tell us total viewing hours, but they do tell us something just as valuable. Momentum. Did a show enter late? Did it climb fast? Did it hold for multiple days? Did it peak and then drift slowly? Or peak and vanish overnight? That shape matters. Now let's lock the calendar first. Sandokan's big Netflix wave hit during the week of January 19th to January 25th, 2026. That's the exact window where the official global Netflix top 10 captured the first major impact. And here's why that matters for the US conversation. The US is not the easiest market for non-local shows to break into quickly. The competition is brutal, the homepage is crowded, and Netflix doesn't gift top 10 slots. To get into that list, enough people have to click watch and keep watching. So if Sandokan enters the US top 10 and stays there across multiple days, that's not nothing. That's real traction. Now let's walk through the US chart story like a timeline, because the timeline is the whole point. In the first 2 days after the drop, Sandokan wasn't in the US top 10 TV list. That's important, and not automatically bad. Because for a show like this, day one is usually dominated by two groups. The people who were already waiting for it, and the people Netflix is already pushing with massive US banners. If you're not a huge US-born franchise, you often don't hit immediately. You build through discovery. A thumbnail test, a row placement, a because you watched suggestion, a friend recommendation, a curiosity click. And that exact discovery pattern shows up here. On January 21st, Sandokan enters the US top 10 TV shows at number 10. That is the first clean yes answer to the question. Did it actually break into the American top 10? Yes, it did. But the more important part is what happened next. On January 22nd, Sandokan jumps up to number 7 in the United States. That is not a gentle rise. That's a meaningful climb. Because climbing that fast usually means one of two things. Either the click volume increased rapidly, or the completion and continuation rate was strong enough that the algorithm kept it visible. In plain English, people didn't just start it, enough people kept going. Now here's where the report card gets interesting. Sandokan didn't bounce in and out like a one-day curiosity. It holds that top 10 position across multiple days. This is where you stop calling it a spike, and you start calling it a run. Then we hit the peak moment. On January 26th, Sandokan climbs again, to number 6 in the US. That is the highest US ranking we see in this late January stretch. And number 6 matters because it's high enough to be visible to casual viewers. Not just hardcore fans searching it by name. It's the difference between only the fandom is watching. Regular Netflix users are being exposed to it. Now, what happens after a peak tells you whether the run is fragile or stable. After January 26th, Sandokan doesn't vanish overnight. Drift. That is a normal post-peak pattern for a binge drop series. People finish it, move on, and new releases enter the chart. But the key is, The drift is gradual, not catastrophic. By January 29th, Sandokan is sitting at number 8 in the US. By January 30th, it's at number 9. So the end of January report card in America looks like this. Entered the US top 10 a few days after release. Climbed quickly. Peaked at number 6. Then slowly drifted, but stayed in the top 10 through the final days of January. That is not the shape of a show that didn't land. That's the shape of a show that landed, peaked, and then competed. Now let's connect that daily US story to the official global numbers, because this is where January becomes bigger than America. In Netflix's official global top 10 for the week of January 19th to January 25th, Sandokan ranked number 7 worldwide. It posted 3.5 million views for that week, with 27.0 million hours watched, and a runtime listed at 7 hours and 46 minutes. And I want you to understand what views means on Netflix, because people misunderstand it constantly. Netflix doesn't define views as how many people clicked play. They convert total hours watched into views using runtime. So if a show is long, it doesn't automatically win just because it's long. Netflix normalizes the number. This makes Sandokan's 3.5 million views in that first global week a clean signal. It wasn't just watched. It was watched enough across enough time to convert into a strong weekly view number. And there's another detail that matters. That week was Sandokan's first week in the global top 10 list. So this wasn't a long-running title sitting in the chart for months. This was an arrival week performance. Now take a step back and think about what it means when a show is number 7 globally in its first week, and also climbing into the US top 10 during that same period. That combination is powerful because it indicates a dual footprint. Broad multi-country interest, plus US discovery momentum. A lot of shows have one but not the other. Some titles explode in one region and barely register elsewhere. Some titles have global heat but struggle to crack the American discovery bubble. January suggests Sandokan didn't stay trapped in a single region. Now let's translate this into plain language report card grades. Not in a dramatic way, in a strategic way. First grade entry speed. Sandokan didn't enter the US top 10 on day 1. But it entered within a few days, which is still fast enough to matter. For discovery-driven titles, a day 3 entry can be healthier than a day 1 spike, because it often means the algorithm found an audience beyond the core fanbase. Second grade climb strength. The jump from number 10 to number 7 is a strong climb. It suggests the show didn't just touch the chart. It gained momentum once discovered. Third grade, peak level. A number 6 peak in the US is meaningful visibility. You're no longer just a niche title people search for. You're a title people see. Fourth grade, post-peak stability. The drift to number 8 and number 9 by the end of January is normal. What matters is that it stayed in the top 10 rather than dropping out immediately. So if we're being honest, this US January performance is not a viral explosion story. It's something better in the long run. A discovery run. And discovery runs are the ones that can extend into week 2 and week 3. If Netflix continues to test placement. Now, here's the question everyone should ask next. What does Netflix do after January? Because Netflix's behavior matters more than any headline. If Netflix keeps Sandokan visible after the first week, you'll see it in 2 places. 1, it stays in the US top 10 longer than expected. And 2, it holds in the global weekly top 10 into the next reporting week. That's the difference between nice launch and real momentum. So here's what we watch in February. And this is the clean checklist. 1. Does Sandokan remain in the global top 10 for the next weekly window? If it stays, that means the audience didn't finish and vanish. It means new viewers kept coming in. 2. Does the US chart position stabilize, even if lower? If it holds around 8 to 10 for a while, that's still valuable. Because the US top 10 list is a visibility machine. Even lower positions can drive new discovery. 3. Does the conversation expand beyond the fandom? The strongest indicator is when you start seeing people who don't already love John Yaman talking about the story, the characters, the vibe, the love triangle, the politics, the rebellion energy, whatever the hook is for them. Not, I love him. But, this show surprised me. That's when Netflix's algorithm gets the signal it wants. Non-fan engagement. Now let's address the thing people confuse with success. Press pickup. Articles can exaggerate. Headlines can be dramatic. But the numbers we just walked through are the part that matters. Global top 10 rank in views. Plus US entry, climb, peak and drift. That's a measurable January story. And if you're a creator, here's the real opportunity. January is not the end of the story. It's the setup. Because now you can make smarter videos that don't repeat the same top 10 screenshot content. You can do why Sandokan entered late, and why that's actually a strong signal. You can do the difference between a spike and a discovery run. You can do what Netflix views actually means, and why runtime matters. You can do Week 2, the make or break test Netflix never explains. And you can do it with calm, clean energy. No conspiracy. No fake certainty. Just the signal. So what's the final January verdict? Sandokan's January performance shows real traction. It hit number 7 globally in the official weekly data. It broke into the US top 10 within days, climbed to number 6, and stayed inside the top 10 through the end of the month. That's not a rumor. That's not a fantasy. That's the shape of a real Netflix run. Now the only question is what comes next. Because if February holds, we're not talking about a quick spike. We're talking about a global positioning moment for John Yaman. And that's exactly why I'm tracking this week by week. So here's what I want you to do. Check Netflix in your country right now and tell me what you see. Is Sandokan available? If yes, is it in your top 10? And what rank? Drop your country and your rank in the comments, and I'll pin the clearest updates. And if you want the February report card the moment it's out, subscribe now because I'm covering the real signals, not the noise.